make sure you're tip-top ready to go. 2024 has started off cold. Let's make sure you are ready to go.
King of Price, Randy Marion, Statesville.com.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Well, good afternoon, Lake Norman, and welcome to Town Talk. We're coming to you live from WSIC, the Real Talk Studio, nestled on the banks of beautiful Lake Norman, streaming worldwide from Cancun, Mexico, to Tatum, South Carolina, population 74. I'm your host, Bill Russell, President of Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, the largest chamber of commerce in the Charlotte region. My guests today are Mike Bolewitz. He's the Vice President, Chief Operating Officer of Via Health Partners. Liam Goddard, who is the Executive Director of Symphony Park, which is a luxury independent living, and Sharon Willis, the Director of Marketing Communications for Ranson Ridge Assisted Living and Memory Care. And my producer, Bill Blakely, in the other room, Cancun, Mexico. Bill, you ever been to Cancun?
I have not yet. Not yet.
Well, we're officially in spring break. Okay, Liam, Cancun.
I've not been, no.
And not okay, but you were the Gulf Coast. You were close.
There's a lot of spring break places down there, but Cancun's not one I've been.
How about it, Sharon? No. Okay.
South Padre Island, does that count?
Okay. I went to Cozumel, but I didn't get to Cancun. But and Tatum, South Carolina. Bill, do you even know where Tatum, South Carolina?
I could not tell you. My first time hearing that.
Anybody know Tatum, South Carolina? Marlborough County. That's where the PD Indians. So that's over going toward the coast. Bill, today, do you know what March 13th is other than Wednesday?
No. Please enlighten me.
Today is National Good Samaritan Day.
Okay. That's every day.
But it should be. It should be. March 13th recognizes the unselfish actions of those who provide and help when needed. The day is also known as Good Samaritan Involvement Day. But today we are focusing on a program where we're talking about the graying of Lake Norman. I was sharing with Justin this morning, we're talking about the graying of Lake Norman. He said, well, okay, that's your idea. Okay. I didn't come up with that. But the graying of Lake Norman, we're getting a little bit older here in North Carolina. And we're going to be talking about the decisions that people in their 40s and 50s may have to make now that maybe the kids are going off to college. And so they're probably looking at downsizing. They don't need the 3 or 4 bedroom house anymore. They may be looking at independent or assisted living facilities for their parents or grandparents and some other issues that come along when you have aging parents and grandparents. And so we're going to be talking about that. And I've got a report from the North Carolina aging population. This comes from the Department of Health and Human Services. We all know that 65 and older is increasing fast. Bill, by 2020, 1 in 6 people will be 65 or older in North Carolina. 1 in 6. By 2028, 1 in 5 will be 65 or older. And by 2031, there'll be more 65 and older citizens than children under 18.
Very exciting. We're going to be wise.
Did you know that? Did you?
I didn't.
Population 85 and older will have the fastest growth in the next 20 years at 116%. Think about that. North Carolina has more adults now 60 and older than children under the age of 18. There is more migration of people 60 and older from other states to metro areas. And you know what the number 1 county in North Carolina is for that migration?
Enlighten me.
Mecklenburg County.
I believe it.
Mecklenburg County. The characteristics of people 65 and older, 27% live alone, 35% have a disability, and 18% are veterans. Is that, you guys are the professionals here. Does he pretty much back that up?
Well, you know what they call that, right?
What's it?
This phenomenon? The silver tsunami.
Mm-hmm. The silver tsunami.
Yeah. It's a pretty general term, I think, used amongst the industry, but it's the idea that the entire population, especially the baby boomers, are all starting to age into senior living and looking for those options.
And Bill, he's looking dead at me because I'm that baby boomer. Somebody that just yesterday was talking about how when he met me, I was a brunette and brown hair, and now I'm not really a brunette anymore. More adults are working longer. The labor force that is 60 to 64, 54% of them are working. And the the people who are 65 to 74, 25% are working right now. That's our workforce. Social Security is the primary source of income 65 or older. 92% rely on that Social Security. So there's some facts that I just came across on that study. Liam, I want to start with you. I was sharing with you before you got here that a few years back, we made a decision that, okay, my grandmother probably needed to go into an independent living facility. Then we looked at my mom because she had macular degeneration and just couldn't do some of the things. And so we looked at the 6 most important things that any senior living community should have. Senior-friendly apartments, nutritious and delicious meals, and we talked about that a while ago, engaging events and programs, personalized care, amenities to make life easier, and happy residents. Are those 6 you think we're right on target there?
I think you're pretty close.
Okay.
I think number 1 is food. Any place that I've ever worked, I've ever been to, if the food is good, the people are happy. And then everything else is kind of icing on the cake from there. But no, you're exactly right. Independent living is changing as a whole, I think, across the industry. For the longest time, independent living, senior living, it kind of had a stigma around it. It was a nursing home. I mean, that's what people moved into, and that's just not what it is anymore.
You're with Symphony Park, so share a little bit about what is Symphony Park, because it's new, and you really technically hadn't opened up yet.
We have not. No, we open up in about 4 weeks. So Symphony Park is an independent living community. Technically, we're a 55-plus community. But because we're independent living and we're labeled that way, we have a lot more of those services that you might find at a traditional senior care facility or a life plan community. So like you were saying, those top 6 things that people are looking for, that's a lot of what we're including in this independent living. So it is apartment style, it's a rental based, but within that you have this huge amenity center that has everything you could ever need. Salon and spa, 3 restaurants, a movie theater, a convenience store. It's got a wellness clinic with healthcare needs in there as well. We have transportation, a concierge team, housekeeping once a week, maintenance that come in and does all the work. So it takes out the need for home care and maintaining your home so that you actually get to spend these years doing the things that you love to do and participating in those activities. And I think that's what people are really looking for, is that social aspect, especially coming out of these last few years of COVID when we kind of took for granted the ability to be social and be around each other. People are coming out of that now, and that's what they want. On top of that, you've got an aging population, like we talked about, that silver tsunami. You've got the baby boomers, I think 73 million baby boomers in the country. Every day, 10,000 of them pass that 65-year age mark. Mm-hmm. And I think it's what you said, 2028 or 2020 or 2030, every single one of them will be over the age of 65. So they're all starting to look for that. On top of that, the baby boomers are the wealthiest generation of any generation in our country. So they've got the money, they've got the numbers, and they're savvy. They know what they want and they know what they're looking for. So the industry is shifting to accommodate that as well. So.
And just before Sharon got here, you were telling Mike and I, what were you doing at Symphony Park just before you got here?
We're hiring our executive chef. So I was doing a food tasting. So the executive chef came in and he knocked it out of the park. He did a 7-course meal just before I got here. Everything from fresh baked bread to a dessert at the end, rack of lamb, pasta with lobster and scallops in between. I mean, I should not have eaten that before I came here.
Lobster and scallops today?
Yeah, that was just part of it. There's a lot of food. I'm a little full at the moment.
Okay, Sharon, I think Liam has a tough life. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
It was a good day.
Somebody's got to do it, right?
Yeah.
Well, when we get back here, Liam, I want to talk to you more about what's going on at Symphony Park, a little bit about the amenities that you have, and where it is. So when we get back here, we're going to talk about Symphony Park, and then we're going to talk about other decisions that people make. Please stay with us on Town Talk, WSIC. We'll be right back. For those of you who are with us on all of our streaming platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, which is now X, and I got to talk about this. I don't even know how you X. I used to tweet. Now I'm Xing. I'm Xing out there. It's sort of like the Prince thing. Prince. You didn't call Prince anymore. He was a symbol. So I'm still struggling with this whole Twitter thing. But for those of you joining us on that platform, we're going to talk a little bit about some Chamber of Commerce activities. First off, tomorrow night, if you're a Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce member or a guest, please come out to our business after hours at 5:30 to 7. It's going to be at the Lux of Huntersville on Aramira Avenue here in Huntersville. Sharon, I was telling you we had a fantastic business after hours. I think it was pre-COVID, but when Kathy was there, we had a little get together, and John Anarella was mayor at the time, and he was there. And my dentist, Mark Tompkins, his dad was a resident at that time there at Ranson Ridge, and so it was a nice little get together, and we enjoyed going out and being there. Friday, this coming Friday, 8:30, we do something at the Chamber called the Focus Friday, where we take some type of community or legislative issue. So this coming Friday at the Chamber of Commerce, we're going to have our police chiefs. We have Kim Davidson from Davidson. So that's easy to remember. Kim Davidson is the police chief for the town of Davidson. So there you go. David Balcom, who is the chief of police down in Huntersville, and Barry Graham. David is here in Cornelius, and Barry Graham is with the town of Huntersville. But they're all going to be talking about the various police departments and what's going on. So you can, if you can't make it in person, because that is an in-person event, you can call and we'll send you Zoom credentials, and we'll send that to you, and you can join us via Zoom. But that's a great program that we put on. We'll cover other events in the next segment. For those of you who are streaming with us, we're going back live in about 10 seconds, so thank you for staying with us.
MerleFest is back, April 25th through the 28th at Wilkes Community College, featuring nearly 100 performers, including Old Crow Medicine Show, Sam Bush, Turnpike Troubadours, the Teskey Brothers, Nickel Creek, and more. Tickets and information at merlefest.org. Listen each morning to Good Morning LKN for your chance to win tickets. Have an event you would like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
Town Talk continues now. Here's your host, Lake Norman Chamber President Bill Russell on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm your host, Bill Russell. I have Sharon Willis. She is the Director of Marketing and Communications at Ranson Ridge. Liam Goddard, who is the Executive Director at Symphony Park, and Mike Bolewitz, who's with Via Health Partners. And before we went to break, Liam, we were sharing a little bit about Symphony Park. Explain, where is Symphony Park?
Sure. So Symphony Park is in Huntersville. It's right on Sam Fur Road. If you were to go east through Statesville, it's Statesville and Gilead. Mm-hmm. Yep, right through there. And then just about a mile down on your left. Brand new building, very much resembles kind of like the Grand Floridian. Big white building, red roof, very kind of a high-end resort look.
There are many senior living communities. What will set Symphony Park apart from the other senior living?
Sure. So one thing that we're really trying to do is we're getting away from what you would consider traditional senior living. We've actually brought on team members that are from high hospitality areas as well as experts in the senior living facilities. So we're really trying to merge the two industries together. So for instance, our general manager, Julie Ogawa, she comes from a high-end background of general manager at hotels in Japan, in Hawaii, Sedona. So she brings this really kind of elevated level of what high hospitality is, what that high-end service is, and she brings a big piece of that to the puzzle. And then you've got other members such as myself that have spent our careers in senior living, working at high-end senior living facilities. So we're bringing the compassion of senior living and the activities and the needs and the requirements of senior living, but at the same time bringing another level to it that I don't think you find anywhere else, which is that high-end hospitality, high-end services, those sorts of things. So.
What services are you providing so that your residents can age in place and remain independent?
Right. So that's a big part of what we're here to do. We are senior living, but we are not assisted living. We're not memory care. We are independent living. We're an active adult community, but we are providing the services necessary to allow people to age in place as long as possible, to enjoy the years and enjoy the amenities that we're providing. So we do have a 58,000 square foot amenity space that has a room for just about anything you could imagine. Everything from a movie theater to a salon and spa to a chapel, 3 different restaurants, 2 bars. And then within that same space, we've also got a wellness clinic. So in that clinic, we've created partnerships with different members of the community to really build that healthcare puzzle that's going to help support people as they stay in place. So one of those is Home Carolina. They're going to be providing those in-home aid services, anything from 15 minutes up to 4 hours. You have a small health bump, you need help folding your laundry, a med check. They're there to help you with that. The next layer is going to be Bayada. they're going to be doing our in-home nursing aids. So anything from 4 hours up to 24 hours. You have a larger health bump. You need someone to help you for an extended period of time. Or they can come in and do your physical occupational speech therapy in office or right there in your home. And then the third piece is going to be our advanced care practitioner, which is One Health. They're an Atrium affiliate, so we'll have a nurse practitioner on site, probably 3 days in the beginning, then expanding as our campus grows. But all of that together, those 3 levels of care, is what we're offering to individuals in independent living so that they can continue to live independently and continue to enjoy all the amenities that we're bringing to them.
You know, as I was sharing with you earlier, a close friend of mine that I see, her parents are at Aldersgate. You come from Aldersgate, and when you go over to a community like that, you've got the formal dining rooms, you got smaller dining rooms, they have their own greenhouse so that you can do things there, the pool, the spa, all of these things, a bank, a post office, just it's their own community right there. And when you're talking about taking care of mom, or in my case, I think I shared, my mother has macular degeneration. She's not able to drive anymore. She can't get out and do some of the things that she wanted to do. But in a community like that, there are trips, there are excursions, there are trips to the grocery store. You've got friends around you. What is the appeal, though, from your perspective, of people who are looking to downsize into that independent living?
Sure. So that's probably the biggest challenge, right? People are coming from these large houses on the lake, or they've spent their lives living in these larger homes, and then the idea of downsizing and coming. So what's the draw to get you to leave your home, to come live in a community? And that's what it is. It's a community. Mm-hmm. You've got friends, you've got a social life, you have activities planned all day, things that you can be involved in. And that's really what we hope to provide to these people. And we know statistically that the more active you are, the more social you are, the better quality life you live, the longer you live. And that's a big part of the reason our industry even exists. You know, we want to create a place that's safe, but also a place that you can enjoy for the best chapter of your life.
And you touched on this in the first segment, but talk about, again, the amenities that you're going to have at Symphony Park.
Right. So again, we have a 58,000 square foot amenity space. We do like to say that in the industry, in independent living, you typically have about a 15,000 square foot amenity space. So we really put a lot of emphasis on that social aspect. And in there, you've got a junior Olympic size indoor heated saltwater pool. You have 3 restaurants. You have a grab-and-go cafe, a convenience store. We've got a full cocktail bar with its own menu, a full sports bar with its own menu, pool tables. We've got a movie theater, a chapel, wow, a game room, an arts and crafts room. We've got a salon and spa with pedicures, manicures, 3 styling stations, massages.
Sharon's nodding her head. She's ready to go.
I want to live at Liam's place.
The list kind of just keeps going on and on as far as what's all there. And then, as you were saying, the transportation, that's a big piece of it as well. So we have our own transportation fleet with buses, town cars for medical appointments, out to social outings. So as much as we're going to be doing on campus, bringing educational presentations and concerts and events on campus, we'll also have a full schedule of things going off campus, because we're in Lake Norman. We're right outside of Charlotte, and we have just an incredible amount of amazing things to do around us, from the green spaces, the walkways, to the arts and the sports teams down in Charlotte. It's really endless what's available.
I know you're going to be opening up. When's the date you're actually looking at opening?
Right. So we are opening our doors in April.
Okay.
So we've got all of our residents are currently selecting their units right now.
What is your vacancy? I mean, do you have any openings?
We do have some openings. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
If somebody was looking at seeing more information on Symphony Park, where would they go?
Yeah. So you go to symphonyparkliving.com is the best way to get to our website. You can go to the Contact Me page, and obviously you could come stop by the showroom itself. So we're at 9526 Rich Hatchett Road at the showroom, or you can come all the way over to the actual site. Now we're opening our doors at 12221 Samford Road as well.
Mike, Sharon was nodding her head, and I'm telling you, and I've actually, I tell you, I was sharing with him Aldersgate. We went over to Aldersgate, and we had Thanksgiving lunch at Aldersgate 2 of the last years, and just fantastic. And again, I know Symphony Park's going to knock it out of the park in terms of what you guys have. Oysters and scallops, oh my gosh, you're already making me hungry today. Sharon, I've had the opportunity to work with you guys at Ranson Ridge. You're a Chamber of Commerce member, and again, I was talking about the after hours. But share a little bit about what is Ranson Ridge Assisted Living and Memory Care.
Yeah, Ranson Ridge is an assisted living with memory care. And to Liam's point about coverage of care, it's so important to have that foundation, whether it's independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing. And of course, different clients prefer different sort of vibes. I'm living there, at least today. But Ranson Ridge is a smaller community, a rich history here in Huntersville. We are assisted living with memory care, so it does give that opportunity for those of our residents who are aging and sort of graduate into a different level of care. Also on our campus is Lakeside Health and Rehab, and again, it's another level of care that we can provide for our residents, and it makes it easier for the families as those health concerns, escalate and maybe they need a higher level of care.
And you're located right over there next to St. Mark's, but tell everybody where exactly you're located.
Yep, we're 13910 Hunton Lane, and we are off of Ranson Road, which is between Gilead and Stumptown Road. So we're that crossroad in there. We're tucked down in the woods, a smaller community, really quaint, really welcoming, family welcoming. Just a warm community that caters to a smaller clientele. We have up to 80 residents, 20 in memory care, always full. Memory care is always full. And our regular assisted living, always very close to capacity or full.
I was just going to ask that. Do you have any vacancy?
We have very limited right now in regular assisted living, 1 or 2 rooms.
What is your normal wait list of trying, if somebody said, you know what, maybe not today, but I would like to look at that, how far out do they need to be talking to you?
Yeah, it's hard to predict because people only leave us when they leave us.
Right.
People are either needing a higher level of care or people are passing, so it's hard to predict. So, we do keep the wait list, and there's such a demand for this level of care that, we can turn it around quickly when the availability does come up. We don't have availability often, especially our memory care. Yeah.
Talk about your amenities that right there at Ranson Ridge.
Yeah, so it's a lovely little community tucked down in the woods, so we have a lot of green space. We have deer on our property, which is really a great thing for our residents. We have a beautiful front porch for their socializing, and we have courtyards. We're built around courtyards, and memory care itself has courtyards. We offer the meals daily as well. There's a wide berth in assisted living. There's some independence to some people who need a higher level of care. So we do get the independent people who don't want to cook anymore, who don't want to do yard work anymore. They want to come, they want to enjoy. We have a lot of entertainment, a lot of musical events. We have a lot of our residents provide the entertainment as well. It's a really giving and beautiful community. We have the ice cream parlor on site, which is always a big hit. We have a huge and aggressive activities calendar, both in assisted living and in memory care. I worked really hard last year to get our memory care some raised bed gardens. I want to have that hands-on experience for our aging folks and just give them that great quality of life.
Now you've been at Ransom a couple of years. What was your what did you do prior to coming to Ranson Ridge?
Yeah, so I'm relatively new to this industry. I was a managing director for an in-home care and assistance agency for 3 years before this. Prior to that, I've always been a part of an entrepreneurial thing. I had my own company. It was an educational consulting firm. So we were national, and we were providing a structure to schools in literacy and mathematics. Prior to that, I was building a practice within Deloitte & Touche. It was Deloitte & Touche at the time. I'm aging myself. Building an insurance practice as a part of an actuarial team. So it's been a fascinating circuitous route to this.
When we come back, I want to find out a little bit more about why you decided to go into this career. Because it sounds like you had sort of a business background, but you decided, hey, I want to really work with people and take care of people, particularly those that are advancing in their years. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, and then we're going to turn over to talk about hospice care with you, Mike. So those of you who are with us on Town Talk, please stay with us, and we'll be right back after these messages. Those of you who are streaming with us, thank you for watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or whatever your social platform. We usually use this time to talk about some of the Chamber of Commerce activities. Next Tuesday, the 19th, Viridian, which is at Smith Corners Boulevard, exit 18. They're formerly Firehouse Casual Living. They're located at the northeast corner off of I-77 West W.T. Harris. They're having a little get together, ribbon cutting, business after hours. So if you're anywhere near exit 18, I-77 next week, stop by Viridian with us 5:30 to 7 for that business after hours. We're doing something in conjunction with WSIC right here and Rose Pharmacy. Next Wednesday, the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce is having a blood drive. It's going to be at our parking lot at the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce, 19900 West Catawba Avenue. Again, the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce parking lot. We're going to have a blood drive, and we hope that you come out. You can actually go to the Chamber's website at lakenormanchamber.org, see information about how to register. It's going to be held from 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And again, we're doing that in conjunction with WSIC and Rose Pharmacy. It's my understanding we do have a shortage in blood, so if you can possibly come out and help, please do that. Next Wednesday, again, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, we've got a ribbon cutting taking place at TLU Athletic Recovery and Wellness. That's going to be on Brawley School Road in Mooresville. Sharon, we had 52 ribbon cuttings in 2023, which, by the way, we haven't done the ribbon cutting on your new facility. So when you open those doors in April, we need to make sure we do a ribbon cutting over at Symphony Park and get that done too. So again, a lot of things going on at the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. I talked about in the last session that we've got our Focus Friday coming up this coming Friday with our 3 police chiefs. Right behind that, I think we've got the fire chiefs coming out and talking about what's going on with the fire departments, then Parks and Recreation. So Beth Cashin, who was a former commissioner for the town of Davidson, is actually heading up our Focus Fridays. And in the past, we've looked at legislative issues from a Raleigh perspective and feds. And so Jeff Tart, who was our public policy chair last year, had a lot of contacts within Raleigh and Washington, D.C., and so we concentrated that way, but we're trying to bring it more local. So do you have a chance to go to many networking events?
I've started to recently.
Okay.
Yeah, no, now being up in this area, especially in the Lake Norman area, it's good to get to know the kind of the industry and population up here.
And Sharon, do you get out? Have you been to our Rotary Club or anything like that to speak on behalf of Ranson Ridge?
No, but that's a great idea, great opportunity. I am on the board of directors for the Lake Norman Healthcare Forum, which is the first Tuesday of every month, and we are so proud to offer an educational event, a really timely speaker for our industry. So invite you all to that first Tuesday of every month at VIA in Huntersville.
Yeah. That has been going on for quite a while. I think maybe 10 years or more. So, so Bill, we're going back in about 10 seconds, right? Thank you, everybody, for joining us streaming. We're going back live.
Bloomberg Radio.
Now more Town Talk with Lake Norman Chamber President Bill Russell on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm your host, Bill Russell, here with Mike Bolewitz, who is with VIA Health Partners, Liam Goddard with Symphony Park, and Sharon Willis with Ranson Ridge Assisted Living. And Sharon, just before we went to break, I was asking, what enticed you to sort of leave the business sector and go in and take care of folks?
Yeah, I really don't feel like I've left the big business sector. I feel like now I'm working for 2 paychecks. The money that we all know is never enough. But the heart. And so as the director of marketing, it still is a very business-focused daily activities, but I love that we're working for a mission and we're working, to help our seniors, to help our folks, to help our families at that sacred time of life. What drove me to it, it was a couple of pronged. A friend of mine was doing some business in the senior downsizing. She asked me to help her. I thought she wanted business consulting. She didn't. She wanted my labor to help her with the downsizing. And through her, I got to meet some of our families, some of our seniors, and I just found this really love for them and understanding. And it's such an incredible time. And some of the changes that are happening are just so new in uncharted territory. And my own family. I mean, I'm the adult daughter of aging parents. And as I shared with all of you prior to this, my own family is going through some of these transitions as well. So I just found that love for our senior population and for our families that are along that journey. So it just spoke to my heart. When I was in the educational industry, the teaching of the children and the kind of the shoring up of the administrators, same feeling. You feel like you're really making a difference or you're really a part of somebody's lives. So that's always been, part of who I am. Now it's just really front and center and focused, and it's a really nice place to be.
Is it the memory care, though, that separates Ranson Ridge from maybe some of the other assisted living facilities, or do all the assisted livings have that component?
No, all the assisted livings don't have a memory care, and there are some, and we are proud to have that. I think what separates Ranson Ridge is the level of care. I know what you'll get when you come to Ranson Ridge. I know the heart for service that we have, all of us has, and just the warmth, the uniqueness of the richness of the history here in Huntersville. So those are some really important things that I think mean a lot to people, and that we're able to transfer onto a daily basis to really give good care to people.
Who do you think is your primary person that should be looking at maybe your facility? Who is your target market?
Yeah, well, interestingly, people are waiting longer to come to assisted living. Some jump over it. And there is also still that stigma that it's a nursing home. We're not a nursing home. We're still an option. We're not a medically necessary place. We're still an option. So we're targeting those families that do need a certain level of support, a certain level of assistance. Certainly our memory care is still assisted living. So there's a certain amount of independence still with our memory care residents as well. So we're targeting sort of a little bit beyond the independent living. We're 65 and plus, so we're not dipping down into the 55 category. 65 and plus, our average age right now is about 85. We have a 102-year-old. So we're really targeting those folks that still have a level of independence, still have some vitality. They just need that support of a little extra hand to keep them strong and keep them, having a purposeful life.
And Sharon, if somebody wanted more information on Ranson Ridge, where would they find that?
We are a Sabre company, and so you would go to saberhealth.com and you drop down for Ranson Ridge and click on us, and there we are. And you're always welcome to come for a tour, drop in, call us. I see you at I see folks at networking events, so yeah, very welcoming.
Mike, one of the other things that I'm involved in the Lake Norman Kiwanis Club, and the Kiwanis Club has a group that we call the Action Club. So it's young people over the age of 18 years of age or older, but they are special needs adults. And so I call them my kids because oftentimes they act more like kids than they do 18 years of age or older. And each Valentine's, and we've done this for the last couple of years specifically for Ranson Ridge, but each Valentine's, we bring in construction paper and they make Valentine cards for the residents of Ranson Ridge. And the year before that, I think it was veterans. So when we reached into the COVID years, it was veterans. But the last couple of years, it's been Ranson Ridge. And so last year and this year, I took cards out. And so last year was actually, I was able to hit dinner time and was able to catch residents in the cafeteria and where they were eating. And I was walking around, and I was allowed to do this. I walked around. I would just hand out these cards to the residents, and they were like, "This is from who?" And I was explaining this year, Sharon actually pulled them into a room and had them come into the room. And what I found fascinating was after I explained why we were doing it and what we were doing it, they wanted to know more about our group. And then there was a lady in the back, and I don't recall her name now, but she was going like, "Thank you. Thank you," because I think she either had a daughter or granddaughter that had Down syndrome. Yeah. And she said, "Thank you very much for what you're doing." Yes. But those young people, they're so excited about being able to do things for those residents at the assisted living and independent living centers, but also the veterans, doing things for them. And they're so engaged in activities like that. And
the recipients are so grateful for, to be able to receive, to be able to have the young folks, gift them in such a way. Oh, it's amazing.
The elderly.
Yep, it's amazing.
Mike, I want to switch gears now and talk about something that I've utilized hospice services in York County, and I've known Jim Cooper here for a long time.
Everybody knows Jim Cooper.
You've just recently done a rebranding. Talk about your rebranding, but also talk about a little bit about your organization.
Yeah, so probably many folks up here recognize us as hospice and palliative care at Lake Norman, right? And I think when you do something really well, you grow, right? And now we are in multiple states, serving literally thousands of patients a day. And the reality is that healthcare is changing. And if you have a name that locks you into kind of a couple service lines in a very specific geographic area, that doesn't really reflect who we are and what we do as a full organization right now. And so hence the change to VIA Health Partners. And when you think about the word VIA, right, that's kind of you think about it in terms of a journey or en route to some place. And that's very reflective of what we do under hospice and palliative care. And then, Health Partners is really what we're all about. We partner with many different referral sources, healthcare systems, payers, ALs, ILs, I say AL, assisted living, independent living, SNFs, and try to help and support those residents in buildings or wherever a patient calls home. Could be their home or could be anywhere, really. So that was a little bit about the rationale for changing the name and kind of reorienting, as an organization where we're positioned to provide the best care.
Mike, I've shared this. Sam James, who is with James Funeral Home, John Kepner, Mike Cook running the funeral homes. I've said this to Jim oftentimes. There are certain professions that I absolutely cannot see myself ever doing. I couldn't handle situations of grief every day the way that funeral home directors do, and Mike and compartmentalizing it like that. And then also hospice workers who are dealing with sometimes, in many cases, end-of-life situations, not always, but the service they provide, when they provide it to the family, not only to the person that is going through that themselves, but the family members. Hats off to everyone in your industry for what you do, because again, I dealt with this with my grandmother. I dealt with it with my grandfather on the other side, his wife, my dad. All of those occasions, we called in hospice. They sat down with us. They went through what we needed to do. It made things a lot easier for us. But I got to tell you, the service you provide is so greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you. And, I think everybody in healthcare, if you're in healthcare, you're doing it more than just for the paycheck, right? But particularly in hospice, and we've got a great staff. I mean, they're there for the right reasons. And I know hospice is a scary word a lot of the times, but I'll tell you, the thing we often hear from patients and families, because we take care of the whole unit, it's not just about the patient, it's very holistic care, is we wish we had you all in here earlier. And that's a refrain that we hope to change, right? Is articulating the benefits of what hospice can do, what palliative care can do for folks, and getting them exposed to it a little bit earlier, so they can have that full benefit of hospice. And you're right, the people, the nurses, the social workers, the nursing assistants, the chaplains, the grief counselors. I mean, we're kind of the original value-based care bundle for healthcare, right? We deliver all of that and more in the home, wherever you call home, and the people are wonderful. You're right, and I'm glad you had an excellent experience with us.
Oftentimes we think of hospice being called in at the last moments, maybe six months or something. I think President Jimmy Carter, it's been much longer.
It has.
He's been in hospice care. I don't know how.
He just crossed a year, I believe.
A year of hospice care. So that does occur.
Absolutely.
When we get back, I want to talk about what happens when a patient lives longer than is expected. But I also want to talk about some things that Jim shared with me about some, sometimes it's not the end. And I wanted to share one of those good things that he told me. So for those of you who are listening to us, we're talking about decisions that you might be making in terms of downsizing or decisions you're making about your parents or grandparents. Stay with us on Town Talk. We'll be right back after a word from these sponsors. Again, we were talking about some of the Chamber of Commerce activities, and next Thursday is the Chamber's annual meeting. We'll probably have right at 220 people there. That is where we recognize our outstanding folks who have gone the extra mile. Just this morning, Bill, we announced the Entrepreneur of the Year, the McIntosh Law Firm Passion to Succeed Award recipient. It will be Justin Kazepis, the station owner of this station, WSIC. And it was funny, yesterday.
Is that him rooting for himself again?
Yesterday, I talked to my board chair. I said, well, I'm going to be on the show in the morning at 8:15 to kind of do a wind-up for this show. I'm going to go ahead and tell Justin then that he's going to be recognized. And so I'm telling Justin, and I think he sat here and said, so I've been nominated?
Yeah, I don't think he realized what was happening as it was happening.
No, you've won. You're
right.
You're the recipient. You're going to be recognized. And,
Correct.
And some of those people, Bill, Joe Douglas with 131, Entrepreneur of the Year, Jim Engel, who created Aquesta Bank. He's John Bradford with Pet Screening. The list of the
pretty much a
entrepreneurs.
Mount Rushmore right there.
Well, it is
In
some
a
very
sense, yeah.
successful people. So, and another person that I wanted to announce on this show, Joel Olson, who has been my guest on this show, who's with O2 Energy Group, who also does the sun-raised beef, sun-raised, not beef, but lamb. He also is going to be the Business Person of the Year. He's going to be recognized. And then another guest of mine, and again, I'm not a judge, so you're like, well, did you pick all your guests? Robin Salzman, who is Giving with Grace, her foundation. She's going to be recognized with the Duke Citizenship and Service Award. In December, Robin and her foundation, and Jack, but Robin pretty much, that's her baby, gave away $250,000 to 10 area nonprofits. Wow. And if you could see the expression on their faces when they get this check, and they weren't expecting it, oh man, it said volumes. For those of you watching us on any of our social platforms, we're going back live in just a minute.
Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
It's Town Talk with Lake Norman Chamber President Bill Russell on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm your host, Bill Russell. I'm here with Mike Bolewitz, who is the Vice President, Chief Operating Officer for VA Health Partners. Liam Goddard with Symphony Park, going to be opening up pretty soon. And Sharon Willis, who is the Director of Ranson Ridge Assisted Living and Memory Care. And before we went to break, Mike, I was sharing that some good news stories. And Jim Cooper told a story. He had us, it was one, matter of fact, it was after one of the programs that we had with the Lake Norman Health Forum that it takes place every first Tuesday of every month. Tuesday every month. And he was talking about how they brought in this gentleman for hospice. Wasn't doing very well, and brought him in. And then they started feeding him these nutritious meals. And this guy all of a sudden didn't need hospice care anymore. It wasn't an issue surrounding other things. It was just he wasn't getting the proper nutrition and care he needed. And he went home. Yeah. So it's not always a bad news story.
No, folks can graduate, if you will, from hospice, and it's amazing when you have a care team come into your home and organize your meds, maybe put in some supplies in place that you were lacking, order some medical equipment, ensure your psychosocial needs are met. People do better.
Right.
And yes, they're under hospice care, but we actually oftentimes see people improve for quite some time. And I think that's a testament to the kind of work that we do, and again, the holistic approach to the care that we bring to those patients and their families.
We were just talking about President Carter, who, we found out over a year ago he was going into hospice care, and I think actually was his wife still living at the time he was going in?
Yes,
Roswell?
she was. Yep, and she came under care later and died within, I think, a few days.
Right. Right. But so tell me, what happens when a person does live longer than what was anticipated with hospice care?
Yeah. So hospice care, most of our patients have Medicare, right? And you have a 6-month benefit in theory. That's the prognosis that you need to qualify for hospice. But after that, you really have unlimited benefits under Medicare. A physician just has to document and certify that, in their opinion, you have a 6-month or less prognosis, essentially. But that doesn't, nobody's perfect. Nobody can predict the future exactly. And things have changed a lot. That was a lot more precise when you were dealing primarily with cancer-based patients. These days, you've got probably our number one diagnosis category is really more the neurological issues, dementia, Parkinson's, other things. You've got COPD, you've got heart failure, and those are not as predictable of a decline. But the point being that you can stay under hospice for sometimes 6, 12, 18, 24 months before a decision's made to either discharge alive or, death occurs. And so the notion that again, hospice is scary and it's the end and morphine and Ativan is all we do couldn't be further from the truth. It's really a very supportive healthcare service that brings a lot of benefit to patients and families. And
you're hitting on something. When a person is eligible for hospice, what's included and how's it paid for?
Yeah, so that's the great thing about hospice. It's pretty much 100% covered under Medicare, the Medicare benefit. And when we come in, you get nurses coming to your house, you get nursing assistants coming to you, you get social work chaplains, your family gets psychosocial support as well. We have physicians, we have nurse practitioners. We have a lovely 16-bed hospice house here in Huntersville. That's one of 3 we have in Mecklenburg County that should a patient, I kind of call it the hospice ICU, where if you've got a really serious symptom management issue, you could go there. And all of these things are virtually 100% covered under Medicare, and we pay for the medications, we pay for the supplies, we pay for your durable medical equipment, all at no cost to the patient and family. And so it's really a great benefit for folks that, again, is why we're trying to get folks exposed to that concept a little bit earlier and make it less of a scary concept, because it is fraught with emotion when you introduce the word.
Sure. Mike, who makes up the hospice team?
Yeah, so the hospice team is primarily driven by the nurse case manager. She is kind of directing the care. Obviously a physician, and only a physician can certify somebody eligible for hospice. But after that, again, social workers, chaplains, nurse assistants come in at various cadences. Sometimes they come in daily, sometimes they come in a couple times a week and provide care. And we also have a huge team of volunteers. We have a pharmacist on staff. We've got PT, OT, speech, all these things that we can do to, again, support and augment what's going on in the home, all in the vein of maximizing that person's quality of life. It's not necessarily about quantity of life, but it's quality of life, making the best of whatever the future holds, and bringing that holistic team approach, as I said before, is very different from a lot of other aspects of medicine. We're not just focused on your heart or your lungs or your brain or your skin. We're focused on the whole person, and not only the person, but the family and other caregivers that surround that person.
I've heard that you guys supply grief support. Do you do that only for your patients?
No, not at all. In fact, that's probably one of the most rapidly growing parts of the organization is our grief counseling, especially post the pandemic. We have to offer grief counseling to our patients and their families. Well, it's really their families after the death, for 13 months after a death. But we do a lot of community benefit as well. And so anybody can reach out. Doesn't have to, your loved one doesn't have to be under care with us. We do a lot of work in schools with other churches. And our grief counselors are excellent at what they do. And we can go to you as well with that. Virtual grief counseling has kind of taken off for us. People really appreciate that. And again, I think since the pandemic, the need for grief counseling and just somebody to talk to has just exploded, regardless if you have somebody dying in your home. And that's a big part of what we've been doing lately. You just went through a rebranding and changed some of what your moniker, the word palliative. Yeah. What is palliative? Yeah, so I had a physician once explain it to me this way, and I thought it was a great analogy. If you're familiar with cars, GM and Buick, right? Buick is a very specific type of a GM vehicle. That's hospice. Very specific, very regulatorily driven. It kind of has got its box, right? Palliative care is this much broader scope of a type of service that focuses really on symptom management, goals of care, quality of life. And really, palliative care should start anytime you're diagnosed with a serious illness. And as that serious illness gets worse, the amount of palliative care should increase, kind of in measure with that, and then ultimately resulting in a very specific type of palliative care called hospice. And typically, palliative care is not as robust of a benefit. We do have nurses, we do have social workers, we do have nurse practitioners that provide palliative care, but it's more of kind of a consultative specialty service, similar to like going to a cardiologist or to an oncologist. We're focused on, again, goals of care, symptom management. We can do some other things, and we're expanding that today. But palliative care is I would say new within the last 15 to 20 years, but we've been there since the beginning, delivering palliative care further upstream from hospice.
Mike, I started off this whole conversation by saying that all of us are going to be in a circumstance at some point in our life where we're making decisions about downsizing, about maybe sending our parents or ourselves to an independent living center. But we also may be making decisions about our spouses, our parents, our grandparents, about when is the right time for hospice. Who is somebody they would talk to about when is the right time for hospice?
Yeah, I think you start with your most trusted health professional, whether that's your doctor or a nurse in your family. And oftentimes folks have a sense of what's going on. They just need that verification of, hey, my loved one's in a gap here. They're not quite sick enough for the hospital. They don't really qualify for home health. I don't want to put them in a facility, but something's happening here and I don't know what to do. And I think that's where palliative care steps in a lot of the times. And sometimes those folks are eligible for hospice. And, really, we've got a great website. If you call our main number, we will be happy to talk to you. That's a lot of what we do. People just have questions. They don't know what to do. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of good spots in the healthcare system as it currently exists to answer those questions in again, a very holistic manner instead of just a very specific organ system manner. So, excuse me, 704-375-0100 is our main number, and we were happy to talk to any family member who has questions.
Mike, I've only got a couple of minutes here, and I know that you're an independent, not-for-profit organization. How's that different from other hospice providers?
Yeah, it's hospice is it's an interesting landscape right now. There's a lot of private equity money in the hospice business, if you will, because at the end of the day, it is a healthcare business. But we are very committed. We're an independent, nonprofit, 501c3 charity. And we are very committed to staying that way because we believe in delivering the entire comprehensive benefit. And the reality is some of those for-profit entities are looking to make a very large margin. They're not interested in providing some of those community benefits that we deliver, like grief care that we were talking about earlier to community clients. And we need to make a profit, but the difference is our profit goes into our organization and doing more for our patients and our employees. And not going to some shareholder. So I think that's the big difference when making a choice.
Sharon, we got less than a minute left. You said outset you were an entrepreneur. That's kind of how you got your start. What business advice do you have for somebody starting their business?
Have a solid marketing plan. It is your business, and have a passion for what you're doing.
Okay. You're the operating guy. Give me some business advice for that person that's starting their business or just trying to get through the rough spots.
Find the best people you can and pay them what they're worth. Without the people, you've got nothing. And I think that's what's made us different.
Okay. Liam?
I'd say do it right the first time. Don't cut corners. If you build a good product, the money will follow.
And then the last question I want to ask all three of you, and again, I got less than 50 seconds here. So what do you like about living? And you said you live in Hunters. Now, Cornelius.
Yes.
What do you like living about? What do you really like about living here?
My favorite part about this, coming from Florida, no hurricanes. You actually get 4 seasons, incredibly family friendly. It's in driving different distance to a lot of close things. I just love everything about it.
Well, I appreciate having all three of you here today talking about these decisions because we're all going to face them. And thank you for taking your time to here today. If it's Wednesday afternoon, we're talking about Our Towns on Town Talk on WSIC. We'll see you next week.